Hello everybody. Good morning students. In our this online class. In this class students, we are again taking our topic, that is grammar. And in this class our subtopic will be grammar, good or bad grammar. Often in the use of English language we say that my English is weak, my English is bad, my grammar is bad. It is not good grammar, your knowledge of grammar is bad. So good or bad are generally used with grammar. Technically we can say that if we are not following the rules of grammar, then the grammar is bad. And if we follow the rules of grammar adequately, suiting to our tenor and domain and the standard form of English, then our grammar is good. But when we come face to face with the varieties of language, there comes a problem when the expression is such that it is acceptable or accepted by all the speakers of that variant of language, but still it is not following the rules of standard form of grammar. Then what should we call it? Good English or bad English? Our this topic is concerned about this situation. So we start from the beginning. As we all know that the word grammar is derived from the Greek word gramma, which means something which is written. And what is the special quality attached to a written form of language? Anything that is written gets a weightage of being permanent. When we want to say that something is fixed, you cannot change it, you must follow something, often we say that it is written. It is written. It means that you cannot change it. So maybe that the use of the word grammar is for the reason that the rules of grammar are fixed. You cannot change them. It is a necessity because when we want to communicate with our fellow people, with our friends, with our anybody, we can say if I want to communicate with anybody in English, then we must have the knowledge of English grammar. Because as we know, grammar is the code which is shared by all the members of the group, which help in making the communication successful. If those rules are not followed, then the communication will not be effective. It is all right. But as I have said, in practical life, there are many examples when a particular expression is not following the rules of grammar. Still, it makes sense. Still, the communication is successful. It is still it is used by all the members of that group. Then, should we call that expression bad, wrong, or will it too in making the communication successful? So, the relationship grammar and its meaning something written, it suggests that traditionally grammar is related to written language. We all agree that when we speak we do not bother about following the rules of grammar, or we in fact cannot follow the exact structure of sentences when we speak. It may also apply that grammar is related to rules which are permanent like something written. This thing makes sense. Written form of a language is in fact secondary to its spoken form. Spoken form comes has come before the development of the written form of language, we all know it. But still, written form has an extraordinary importance for its special functions, that is making something permanent. Grammar is there in both forms of language, whether it is written or spoken, but it is more followed in written form. Next. So, up to now we are clear that grammar is followed in every expression. Without the back support of grammar, the meaning, the comprehension, the understanding, the successful communication will not take place. Now, grammar may be described as the mechanism by which a language works when we communicate with other people. It is a set of rules to use a language in its correct form or to put words together in certain ways, not in other ways. When we put words in a certain way, that is pattern, that is structure. And it is through the structures, the place value of words, that meaning is derived. Grammar is a central part of language which relates to sounds and letters and helps in generating meaning. The meaning of any message conveyed by language has to be conveyed into words put together, and this putting together must be according to the grammatical rules, and these words are then conveyed by sounds, or these words or these ideas are given the written form. But the following of the rules of grammar is very important if we want to make the sense clear, if we want to make the communication successful. It does not matter whether we are speaking or whether we are writing, whether we are listening to or whether we are reading. The background working of rules of grammar and its knowledge is always necessary. Now, there are two approaches regarding grammar. One approach is prescriptive approach and second approach is descriptive approach. As it was there with the language, prescriptive approach and descriptive approach. The prescriptive approach deals with how language should be used, and the descriptive approach deals with how language is used in practice. So, prescriptive approach is related to the standard form of language, related to the rules of grammar which should be followed in use of that language. While descriptive approach says that this is the way, this is the structure, this is the word order, this is the meaning which is used in practical use of that language in everyday use. The descriptive approach deals with how language works in practice. The prescriptive approach is related to the standard form of a language, and the descriptive approach is related to varieties of a language. That is the point of our use. Now we come to two terms: varieties of language and standard form of language. We know that varieties of language means that there are certain deviations, whether in pronunciation, whether in some structure, or whether in uh, meaning of certain words, which are not following the standard form of language. Now this standard form of language itself can be described as being a variety of language which is more acceptable, which is regarded to be purer, more refined, more acceptable than the varieties. So we discuss these 2 points now. Standard English is the national variety of the language in as much as it is not restricted to any region within the country. We are talking about Britain here. For us, standard language is the only form of language, only form of English that we follow. Our Indian English has not yet acquired the status of a variety of English. So for us, that standard form of language, standard form of English is the hallmark. It is taught throughout the education system. Means this English is taught throughout the education system and is identified with educated English, with educated people. It is the public language of official communication in central and local government, in parliament, and in the courts, and generally in the mass media. We are talking about the standard form of English, the status of standard form of English in Britain, in England, but these words are quite true in our case also. In India, the standard form of English is used in all these fields. It is preeminently the language of printed matter in written form. Indeed, only the standard language has established orthography, and it is the variety that is taught to foreign learners. The standard form of English is generally or almost in every case the topic to be taught to foreign students. Then there is another term, correct English. Correct English is the correctness applied to the standard form. It is legitimate to speak of mistakes in the use of standard language affecting spelling or punctuation or vocabulary or choice and grammar, the varieties of language. At the same time, there are relatively few disputed usage, and about those there may be legitimate disagreements on which variant is correct. In the area of that variety, that form will be regarded to be the standard form, though it is contrary to the standard form of that language. But in that area, that form which is used and accepted by people makes the communication successful without any hindrance, without any difficulty, without any problem for anyone. So, in our next class, we will continue about our this topic, good or bad grammar. Up to now, we can say that grammar represent the written form, means the permanent rules which are to be followed to use that language. But in practice, there are many examples where those rules are not followed, but still that form of expression is accepted in communication. So, what should be our uh, judgment about that? What should we say, whether it is good or bad, whether that form is good or whether that form is bad? We will continue over this discussion in our next class. For this class, thank you very much.